Towerborne is out in early access right now, and I gotta say, I am A, having a ball with this one, and B, kind of pretty addicted to it. So before we get into what I'm loving about Towerborne, I want to go ahead and dive into the things that I think are pain points for players or stopping people from jumping in and buying early access. And the elephant in the room is that you have to buy early access. It's $25 for the silver tier, a little bit more for the gold tier. You're essentially paying to be a beta tester because there are going to be 2 wipes. There's going to be one mid-season for some major overhauls. I say season, but mid-early access. There's going to be some major overhauls to the class system, how the game works, reward structures, big updates. So they're going to do one wipe that's going to be mid-early access, and then the last wipe will be right when 1.0 hits. So what you keep if you get in early access is all your cosmetics from your Founders Packs, and then any cosmetics that you have earned from the Curios store. Curios is essentially a battle pass type system. You earn the currency to unlock the different cosmetics, and it is cosmetic only. Only cosmetic. So you get a currency to unlock these cosmetics currently by completing dailies, and you get a little payout from doing the bigger dungeons in the game as well. The other pain point outside of obvious monetization blocking from a lot of people coming in and trying this thing out is the fact that it's not in early access on Xbox. Now, it was inside the Xbox Insider program for early testing. Those were all closed Insider program testings. But early access was limited to Steam. Stoic claims that they think it is a better testing environment for early access on Steam. And while I identify with that and probably agree to a bit, it does suck for Xbox players, and they're understandably pretty upset about not being able to do early access, especially since it is a Xbox, Microsoft published first-party title. So those are the big pain points. Outside of that, I'm loving this game. Preface. I'm a big old school beat 'em up, slash 'em up, brawler fan. Things like Golden Axe, Castle Crashers for something a little bit more recent. The old TMNT games, those just like side-scroller, beat-em-up, Final Fighty kind of games. I love that. I'm huge in arcade games. So if you're like that kind of gamer who loves those sorts of games, beat-em-up, brawlers, at a base level, you're definitely going to enjoy yourself in Towerborne. On top of that, there's a pretty deep loot game. There's loot drops for any of the 4 classes for weapons, armor, aspects, which are like gems. And then on top of that, you're going to be unlocking Umbras, which are kind of like little pet guys that have different abilities. I think in early access, there's 7, unless there's one I'm missing on the map, which is entirely possible. But there's a lot of loot to unlock and a lot of different ways to play. There's 4 classes in early access right now that the class system is supposed to be getting a pretty major rework and upgrade mid-early access. But we start with the Shadow Striker, who is my current favorite. That's your standard rogue-type character, fast attack speed, applies poison, has a little double jump guy. Super fun. Then we have the Rock Breaker, who is your brawler, your berserker. They use 2-fist weapons and do big charge attacks for big punches and stuff. Super fun with the Rock Breaker. Like them a lot, too. Pyroclast, which is a 2-handed war club user. They use fire abilities to ignite enemies. And then you have your Sentinel, which is your standard sword and board tank kind of character. And all the moves that I've played around them tend to be like crowd control, buffs for the team or for yourself. A good bit of like charge moves that'll stun or knock back enemies. So there's a good variety of gameplay styles that you can have right now. And then outside of that, every piece of armor will have its own perks on it. Anything from like affliction duration, crit damage, crit rate, HP, attack, defense, cooldowns for your Umbra. And you'll have set bonuses too from certain pieces that you can get from the bigger dungeons. They'll give you some more unique sets or unique bonuses. On my rogue character, or rather my Shadow Striker, I'm using the operative set. It gives me 33% more damage, but I have 33% less HP. So there's a good bit of build diversity. Armor itself is not class locked, though weapons are. Weapons will have a number of different special attacks that you'll use your focus on. Focus is the blue bar if you're seeing some gameplay. Focus is a blue bar that builds up as you do damage and as you take damage. And you'll have two different abilities so far. One will take 1 bar of focus, one will take 2. Obviously, the 2 bar does a bit more damage or has bigger effects for you to use. And I've seen various combinations of the currently existing abilities on weapons. So you are weapon locked on your classes, but you aren't armor locked. Gameplay, like I said, follows along the classic brawler, beat 'em up kind of gameplay. You're either going to go left to right or right to left, beat up some baddies, do some events. There's events in the levels that'll be random. Anything from killing enemy tents, killing X amount of enemies in a certain amount of time, doing missions where you have to protect NPCs or their carts or whatever. And then there'll often be mini bosses at the end of levels, and the levels will have payouts of loot. The loot game on top of this brawler feels real good. I've really enjoyed putting together different builds for my characters. And then we have dungeons. There are several dungeons scattered around the map in Towerborne, each with a pretty lengthy level with a main boss at the end. The bosses range of difficulty. Some of them have been pretty easy. Other ones are a little bit more frustrating with their movesets, but it does take a little bit of practice to get to learn their patterns, when to dodge, when to jump, when to engage with them so you don't get stunned and crapped on, things like that. So there's a good amount of like combat variety here, pretty engaging. The combat itself is deceptively deep, I would say. A little bit more so than your standard beat 'em up on part of the loot game, building your different focus bar and your weapon bar and doing different abilities and stuff. And especially in group play, because group play really ramps up with not only enemy health, aggressiveness, but also density. In 4-player mode, it's a lot of enemies on the screen at once. So paying attention to what's happening and making sure that you don't get decimated can be a challenge, but if you have a good crew, it's a lot of fun. This is one of those games, and I think that's any multiplayer game, where it's best with buds. I had a good time solo. I've done all the content solo, but it's the best when played with friends. I think Towerborne has a good opportunity here to do something different. You know, we're in a time in gaming where there's so many remasters, and there's so many sequels to existing IP, and I think having a title it's obviously going to be a bit niche. It's obviously going to have a specific group of folks that it appeals to. It appeals to me. Not everybody digs arcade brawlers. Not everybody digs loot games. I happen to love both of those things. So it's definitely scratching an itch for me that I didn't know I had, combining those genres. I recommend it. Even with the wipes, even with the only things you're keeping in early access, I think it's worth the $25. But if those negative points hold you back, then I don't blame you. I mean, that's on you. I do wish that Stoic and Microsoft would have decided to put this game out in early access for free. I want more people to play this thing. Every one of my friends that I've gotten to play it has loved their time in the game. And I guarantee if you have a group of buds, get them together, go through some levels, do some bosses, grind some loot, it's a good feel. But it's understanding that you don't want to pay to be a beta tester. For me, it was worth it. For others that have played it, it was worth it. But if that doesn't sound like something you want to do, wait for early access to be over, because 1.0 will be a free-to-play game. All the store items in the game are going to be cosmetics. They've said cosmetics only. I hope they adhere to that. I don't want any pay-to-win in this guy. As long as it remains fun, fair, and has cool cosmetics, I think they could have a really strong niche community here. And I hope more people check it out at launch, which will be in early 2025. If you've been playing Towerborne, let me know. Let me know. I'm loving it. I can't wait for updates. I want to see the roadmap. I've been giving Stoic some feedback on this, that, and the other. So hopefully this thing can shape up. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.